Welcome back to the Go Deeper podcast. Today, we're going to talk about sustaining a marriage through all seasons and what it looks like, things we've been through, how we have worked through forgiveness and just grace, but also how you both can grow and maintain your own individual identity while staying close and connected in marriage. And it's probably the question we get more so than any other question is, how does Stephen have a business? How does Amber have a business? How do you have time? Mm-hmm. How do you parent? How do you have kids? Like, how do you do all the things and still have a very good, healthy, connected marriage? And there are seasons, if I'm being transparent, that everything seems to flow and everything's good. But there's also been seasons of just like hard, whether it's like emotional hard, for me, hormonal hard seasons of where maybe one's carrying more weight than the other in certain aspects. So we're going to talk about like, what does that look like on the real, the raw, the everyday, the behind the scenes, and how have we worked through it? For those of you who don't know us, we have been together now 18 years.
Almost 18 years.
Almost 18 years, which is hard to believe.
Yeah.
It started off rocky AF from 2008 to probably when we got married, 2015. It was very rocky. So 7 years. So 7 out of the 11 years were rough, but we overcame, we've forgiven, we've grown together, and now we have a very beautiful life, which we're very grateful for. And I think whenever you've been through hard with somebody, and it just wasn't one thing that was hard, it was like season after season after season after season after season that was hard for the first several years of our marriage.
Well, I think I was young.
Or before we were married.
I think I was young, not ready for commitment, had gotten out of a couple relationships. And then you, I think, had gotten in a relationship and was like, a woman's usually
I was ready for this version of myself.
Yeah. But I don't think you were.
No. In my mind, I was ready for it, but I was not spiritually maturity-wise ready for it by any form. But I knew what I wanted. I knew what I wanted my vision of my life to look like.
And then life happens. And we were financially both in debt, and we're trying to build business. And the business is running you. And I don't want to say you're more after the worldly things than anything. And then you really, nothing else matters. And
then you realize the worldly stuff doesn't fulfill you.
Right.
And you get realigned and life comes full circle.
And I was in a business that wasn't
healthy
per se healthy, and also felt like I needed to be a person to drive the business. And you can't be in a relationship for that. You definitely can't be married and young and stupid, 23 years old. And at the end of the day, I don't think I would be the man I am today in my 40s if I would have went through that. Because now I've seen a lot of people, the roles have reversed, and they had the kids young, and then they got to, let's say, 40, and they just had this like,
wild hair.
I'm leaving my husband, I'm leaving my wife, whatever it is. And now me and you, when we get that, we're kind of like, what? But I experienced a lot of things young.
In your 20s.
And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but at the end of the day, I'm glad we went through all that young because, first of all, I know both of us we're in 100% agreement. We want to be good parents.
Yeah.
And it affects the children more than anything. And I never want that to be us.
I'll say this. I don't want to condemn anyone if we paraphrase anything within this podcast, because we're all sinned and have fallen short.
Yeah, absolutely.
Time and time again. And those seasons of hard, even though they were horrendous to walk through, grew us and made us who we are today.
Sure.
They made us operate with a high level of integrity, have a good marriage, communicate with a high level, be okay, each being our own individual people. Like, there's so many spouses who are not okay if one is more successful than the other. Mm-hmm. And there's a controlling aspect to all of that too. And there's people that live in suppression because they're afraid to speak up. That can be a whole nother podcast in and of itself.
And I think also a lot of spouse, husband, whatever, does not support the other one.
No.
So then they live in suppression.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I will remember this forever, but it didn't make sense till it made sense. And I think that's just the way the life works sometimes. If you're ever not evenly yoked, where if you don't know what that means, it means you're unaligned in some spiritual aspect. If you're not evenly yoked, your relationship is going to be so much harder because there's no foundational basis to revert to when times get hard, right?
Yeah, I agree.
You can't fight flesh with flesh and expect to win. There has to be some level of spiritual maturity and some level of alignment where you say, hey, I'm humble enough to surrender myself and to call myself out on my faults. And I'm humble. The spouse also needs to say, I'm humble enough to say I did wrong too. And when you both can break and surrender together, you can work through anything.
Sure.
But oftentimes what happens is you have people that are unevenly yoked, and you have maybe one person over here that can do that and another person over here like, you were wrong and this happened because of you. And that person does not take responsibility for their own fault in the matter. And then all of a sudden that bridge gets wider and wider and wider, and that gap gets bigger. And all of a sudden you have two people living under the same roof, disconnected, not happy, should be divorcing, then gets divorced, or one person cheats. And it's like, this all could have been solved.
Sure.
If we were all humble and had enough humility to be broken and surrendered and forgive and work through it. So oftentimes when Stephen and I have spouses come to us, and just because what we do, whether it's the gym and the health and fitness world or real estate, we oftentimes are made aware of these situations where the world may not be made aware. We're made aware. We've learned to make people face themselves and look in the mirror and say, like, where was your part in it? Like, hold your own weight and be accountable for you. Mm-hmm. Where did your breakdown occur? And I think no matter what type of relationship it is, we're talking about marriages. When you do that, and there's something about it that just like invites God's grace in. And if God's willing to forgive you, but you're not willing to forgive others, he's not going to forgive you.
Sure.
And then you're living in a place of uneasiness, unrest, because you start carrying things. None of us are perfect.
No.
And one of the biggest blessings I would say in our marriage is we know one another enough. When one another's off, we know it without taking it personal at times. You may take it a little bit personal than I do. I don't always take it personal. I know when you're off and like I need to do a little more of something or step up and take stress off of you. But you also know when I'm off too.
Sure. Well, I think you know a lot of times when, like, let's just say I don't even know if it was 2-3 weeks ago, I had like 4 people flying that week. And I have to be on, like mentally on for hours. And you never know. And I love when they come. It's not that. So I'm not like complaining.
But there's a preparation that takes place to be able to prepare for that.
Right. And then I have to do a lot of like due diligence of like, maybe I've talked to them 30 times on the phone, kind of acquiring their needs. And then when they come, I have to sit down with them and for an hour or however long and find out, hey, okay, so explain me again, what are we building? Why are we doing this? Who are we doing this for? What's our target avatar clientele? Where your location? How much is your rent? There's a lot of questions. I've almost like built my own algorithm. And what's budget for this? And then sometimes, I'm dropped the bomb that the budget's not what I thought it was going to be. And now I have to finagle to do this gym build. And I always say, I want to build $1 million club on a budget. And sometimes it's very difficult to do. And so in the moment, I'm putting a lot of stress on myself. And then they leave and all the hard work begins. Now we've got to do the invoice. I got to go tag all the equipment, and then I got to get all the equipment prepared. Now, sometimes they're not getting the equipment for 30 days. Sometimes they're in a dire situation. One of them recently, they bought it and we shipped it 3 days later. This was a full gym. This would take the average person months to prepare for. That's a lot of stress on me, especially within my business if you're having employee problems. Mm-hmm. Oh, we're down 2 men. Oh, it's the holidays. Somebody didn't show up to work. As a business owner, If somebody don't show up, who's going to do it?
Yeah, the owner has to. You
The
don't have a choice.
owner and his main people.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult. And so I know when I've come home at 8:30 p.m. and I've been going nonstop, and you can tell my brain has been going that like you can tell that like,
But I know how to prepare for when you walk in the door.
yeah.
Like
yeah.
I'm not gonna, and this is where I think a lot of women go wrong. They get so bitter that they've been at home while the man's been out doing X, Y, and Z.
Sure.
And when the man walks through that door, instead of serving him with rest and love and compassion, he's served with rah.
The number one thing I hear, and you are very good about this.
Yeah, thank you.
The number one thing I hear from so many men that you would think, oh, it's just sex, is, man, I would just love a good meal when I get home. I will give my wife this. She has always been, even for my children, we cook everything. So that's always been a big deal for me, even when I met her, because I eat 6-7 times every day. And so I always tell her, I'm like, hey, she's like, hey, I'm starting dinner. There's never been a time in my life I can remember that you didn't say that. And I hate to say this now, like Manny and Sophia, they are going to expect dinner the rest of their life. And when I was growing up, usually back in the day, grandma cooked or mom cooked, somebody cooked. It's kind of like a lost art form.
I think there's a lost art form of people. The women in our generation began to work outside the home.
Yeah.
That doesn't dismiss you from being what I say, like the Proverbs 31 woman inside the home.
Sure.
And I think so many women haven't figured out how to take off, not put off. They haven't figured out how to take off their boss lady hat when they walk through the door.
Yeah.
And be the more submissive wife and the more nurturing mom.
Sure.
They're still in boss lady mode. And that's not going to work.
No.
Because a man needs to feel like you're surrendered and submitting to him. And when Stephen comes home at night, like usually his meal's already on the table and it's plates there, his water's there. Like if he's busted his butt all day, not that I haven't, but if he's busted his butt all day, he's walking into usually a filet with some vegetables and some rice.
It's the same thing I've ate for 20 years.
Yeah, which is easy. It's not like I'm cooking these extravagant dinners. It's an easy dinner, but still I do cook every night.
Yeah.
But that is the first, it's just like walking into a house. It's the first, in real estate, it's the first, what's it called? Experience that he gets when he walks in the door. If he came in and there wasn't food ready and I was on my phone talking to my girlfriend and not paying attention to my husband, that would make him feel a certain way. So I think so much of keeping a close-knit relationship and marriage while still maintaining our own identities is knowing that we have different identities outside the house than we do inside the house.
Well, and I think too, if the woman is doing that, whether she works, don't work, whatever, I definitely think the man has to understand, just because like in my brain, and I've always been like this because the men that I saw doing it, no matter if you made $100 million a year, I've got to be the provider in my brain. I would be very happy for you to make more money than me. But have I ever asked you for $1? Never have I asked my wife for $1. She could work, not work. It doesn't really matter to me. I think we're much more a powerhouse with you working. But at the end of the day, I knew couple years ago, for instance, when you were like, hey, Amber she would be cooking and then she would cook, I think, a chicken tenderloins and for my 2 meals the next day for lunch. And she's like, our kids are younger. And she's like, babe, I cannot keep doing this. I can tell you're getting irritated with it. And it's not really, she's already cooking. So in my mind, I'm like, she's already cooking. She can cook the chicken too. But I had to really like reflect on myself and be like, you know what? Maybe if I got us both meals, that would at least take a little bit of plate. And then she don't have to think about it. She was on this health kick to get herself back in shape.
I can't eat the same food every day.
Right.
That's really where like I felt like I was sacrificing myself to support him, but I was the one suffering. And I think anytime a woman puts herself in a position where she's suffering for the betterment of others, it's okay to do that to a certain extent, but not to where it starts to bring bitterness in your heart.
Right.
And when we first had kids, I was a little bitter at first because I was still in like career mode, but I had these 2 new little children who I loved and adored, but it was new to me. And I had to be like, okay, It's okay to slow down your job a little bit, and you don't have to sell 100 houses a year. But you need to be a mom right now. But I
It
would
was hard for
see
you.
it was hard for me. And I saw Steven like growing his businesses and doing these things. And I'm like, I want to do those things, but I can't because I'm at home with these kids. And then my hormones were all over the place.
And I felt like I'd kind of lost my wife in a sense of like, hey, man, golly, we can't go
He
to
was
dinner.
used to me 24/7.
Yeah, we can't go out. We can't fly to Florida. We can't go
COVID
to this
happened.
gym
It
opening.
was a lot.
Like I was lost within myself because I didn't know. Like now, like she's not at not only my beck and call. Like I don't have her hardly at all. The newborns are, and we loved our children.
Yeah. But it doesn't, just because you're going through hard doesn't mean you don't love your kids. It just
Right.
means it's freaking hard.
It is hard.
I mean, we were late 30s,
There's no
having kids
blueprint.
back to back,
Yeah, there's no blueprint.
running huge businesses. COVID happened. My hormones were all over the place. And what I also don't think a lot of women and men realize is your hormones being all over the place will make you feel every sort of way. Crazy, depressed. You'll have no sex drive. You'll have no self-confidence. You'll have no belief in yourself.
And I think sex drive comes kind of with self-confidence.
Yeah, it does. And there's so many things that can happen. So we were post kids. I think Sophia was probably 3 at the time. And I told Steven one day, I came home from work and I'm like, it's just like hard for me to even pick up the phone and call people and have hard conversations, where that didn't used to be. I could call and go over a repair request and it wasn't an issue. And I'm like, I can't lose weight. I have like this bloat look. Like something's going on. And he's like, I know it's your hormones. Get everything checked. I'm like, no, I'm going to figure it out. And then eventually I gave in. And I'm so grateful I did, because your hormones, especially in your 30s and 40s, being off will affect this relationship in such a massive way.
So many people are.
And people don't realize.
Men, I feel like men are worse than women. Women go get the pap smears.
Yeah, but that will test your hormones. You have to ask for it.
No, I get it. But what I'm saying is at least y'all go to the doctor.
Yeah.
So many men that I talk to that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s,
don't go
they
for a
can't even
decade.
tell them when. And as men, back in the day, doctors would say, oh, well, you're just older now.
Yeah.
You're supposed to feel this way. Hell no. I want to feel optimal. I want to feel, now there's modern medicine. I don't want to do anything that I shouldn't do, but I want to feel, and that all starts with, working out, eating healthy. Yeah, we still have to do the right things, but what vitamins do I need to take? You were deficient in vitamin D.
Yeah, D.
She
and
had
E
no
vitamins.
idea
Yeah.
until we got her tested. And I hate to say this, it cost a little money to do all these things,
But
but
it's worth it. If it saves
well
your
worth
marriage
it.
and it makes you feel better and it makes you perform better and you're more confident as a woman and you're a better wife and a better mom, like, do it. You are worth it. Your health is the one thing you can't replace.
Well, I think that's where
It's the world we're in.
Well, right
Thanks, God.
after that point, and you were kind of getting more on your health kick, that's where I think I had to implement and be like, okay, do you need my guy to help you some with your diet?
Yeah.
And then I took it upon myself. I'm like, okay, when I knew she didn't want to cook the meals no more, she's like, babe, I have no problem cooking eggs for breakfast and dinner for the family.
Yeah.
And I think, her mother done these things. And so like, I think it was very important for you to we still say like a family, we all sit down and eat dinner together. Like that's kind of a lost art form, but like,
It keeps us connected.
I now get my lunches made every single day, which is the same food that she prepared. I just get it done from somebody else. Our cars get washed every single week. She don't even have to think about it. She knows she's going to have a clean car. These are just little things like, I know on Tuesday our trash has to be at the road. 90% of the time I do that unless Amber just happens to be home. And then I drive my pickup truck that Pacific day on Wednesday to pick up the trash cans at the road. Unless I don't, I'll walk down there and get them. Because I know I set up a lot of the outdoor stuff that my wife, like pressure washing, all these things twice a year. That way my wife don't even have to think about a lot of things, because our home would be a lot for you to take care of.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I could do it, but it would be a lot.
Yeah.
And just because
no.
I can do it doesn't mean I should do it or should want to do it.
And then you came to me and you was like, hey, babe, I want to get my stuff organized. And so little things, I think as a man, even though I questioned it, I had to be receptive of that and be like, okay, babe, if you want to spend that money, by all means. It wasn't even a money play. I think we just needed to talk about it, because at first I've seen this. A lot of men or women, they're so bitter with the other ones. Like, why did you spend that money? And then they get pissed and then they start doing stuff and hiding things. Because I've heard it from
Like a rebellious reaction.
Right.
To it. Yeah.
And you got to
Got
look
to
at
stay on the same
well, you
page.
got to look at it like this. Men don't spend that much money on hair compared to a woman. It's expensive for you to go get your hair done in any woman. So my point to you is a lot of men look at it like, well, you spent X on your hair and nails, and I don't go to the nail salon, or my haircut costs $20. And I always flip it around. If I have a man tell me that, I've had people tell me that before. I always flip it around. It's like, well, don't you want your wife to look good? Don't you want your wife to be in shape? Don't you want to look at your wife and be like, so within my gym, I've had grown men, 50 some years old before, they're staring at what could be their daughter. Why are you not staring at your wife like that? I just have always had a different approach of I look at people a different way because I want to look at you in that light, not someone else. And you know how I am. I told my wife this, I'm old school. From the moment I proposed, I've been faithful in my marriage. And I think that's so important because it's kind of a lost art form. Because then I hear so many people that are like big name people that are like just animals. And I'm like, how is that even possible that they live like this and nobody knows it?
Because they're very unfulfilled in whatever relationship they're in, or they're living very worldly and fleshly. And I think accountability is the highest form of love. And one thing that we're both really good at is holding one another accountable. Like if one's slipping, if my mood's off, like you call me out on it quick and I quickly adjust. If your mood's off or you're a certain way, I'll call you out on it and you quickly adjust. Like we've learned that's love. We've learned to communicate what our expectations are. I think there's so many voices inside relationships sometime. And this is where women fail. And this is where I failed at first. I expected you to read my brain of what I needed, of what I wanted. And to be honest, when I was a new mom, I didn't know what I needed or what I wanted because I was just in survival mode. But you were gracious enough sometimes to be like, you need a break. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You were going to call your mom, have her come down this weekend, and we're going to go on a little trip because I can tell that you need time.
And Amber, every time I would do that, she never wanted to go anywhere till we got on the plane.
Yeah.
And it might be for one time we literally flew to Miami, if you remember, got off the plane, went out, and flew back the next day. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. But in the moment of the night, we were sitting there dancing, hugging, kissing, whatever. It was a great little trip. Mm-hmm. Now, probably were we exhausted the next day? Yeah, absolutely.
That's where I like to kill him. And it's where I've learned to be more vocal. Like, I'm not 30 anymore.
Yeah.
And I have 2 little kids that I'm going to go home and be responsible for. And I know you're still going to live your life like you've been living it your whole life. But I got to get up.
Yeah.
And I got to take care of them. And I got to do certain things.
Well, now we operate a little different. Well, that was probably 6 years ago that we done that.
But I had to learn to speak up for myself. Right. And that's where I didn't do that in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then I have went through seasons where I've been bitter and withdrawn from you. And I don't like that feeling either. Mm-hmm. And I've learned that facing those hard conversations and telling you, here's how I'm feeling. Here's what I need you to do. Like I don't bicker at him much at all. But there's certain things like he puts his dirty dishes on top of my clean dishes in the sink still almost every single day.
I've been completely cleaning them before I do that now.
But it's because I've been vocal about it recently.
Okay.
But most women won't even be vocal about simple things like that. You know,
they're like ready to be put in the dishwasher now, every time.
Yeah. I
Even
want
this
you to
morning.
wash them and make them clean or put them in the dishwasher.
That's what I did.
That's what my expectations are, not just rinsing them.
She's telling me on the podcast.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want them to be clean. I don't even want dishes that need to be put in the dishwasher to be in the sink. I either want them clean in the sink or in the dishwasher.
Okay, I got you.
That's what I want.
I'm going to just start hand doing them every day clean.
But small things like that will set you over the edge certain days.
I get it.
Do you know what I mean? Like if I don't keep the house clean and picked up and organized a certain way, he comes home and he's like, "This house is a mess, and we just got cleaned."
My kids put their socks.
Oh, they're the worst.
Everywhere.
Our house would stay looking like a model house if it wasn't for the kids.
Because I'm very OCD with that.
But then there's also times where I look at him like, Joker, I've been at home working on the phone, on Zoom calls, negotiating offers, dealing with all this stuff all day, and these 2 kids. Mm-hmm. And then I have you come walking in here criticizing me. I'm lucky to be alive today, you know. But he doesn't see that all the time. And
you don't see sometimes the things I see.
I know, but I try to slow down.
I'm much more particular with my vehicles than you.
Yeah, well, I have bigger things to worry about.
I get it, but that's a very big pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, but I'm not bad.
Not with you.
In the grand big
I'm just talking about in general.
Right.
If we got nitpicky, these are little things.
But you have to know what makes each other tick and also what triggers one another.
Sure.
And don't do those things with intention. make sure that you're preparing every single day to win with your spouse. I think is super significant. You know, we never not sleep in the same bed.
Yeah, I think that's big.
I'm going to say it, our sex life is somewhat active, maybe not as active as you want it to be, but like we have expectations on it. We don't avoid that conversation.
Sure. No.
We know that keeps us connected.
Sure.
And I know sometimes when we're off, we either need to like go on a vacation
Yeah.
or I just need to like step up my game and maybe have more sex with him this week and figure it out. You know, I know times where we need a date night. Or I know times where we need to go on a walk or we need to do cardio together. We need to reconnect. We need to communicate because the problem with him and I both being so headstrong and driven and busy is we both can get so busy that we sometimes don't slow down enough to connect, but we're okay with it for a little bit. But then sometimes I can feel like we need to connect. You know what I mean?
I think you just get
that way sometimes.
Going through the rat race of life and you're so busy that, I mean, don't get me wrong. Any man is lying if they don't say this. There is plenty of times that I've laid my head down and maybe 30 minutes before this, I thought, oh man, I want to have sex with my wife. I might've been touching her for the past 2 hours in the kitchen or whatever, because I like to mess with my kids. And next thing I know, I'm exhausted and I'm almost like not even coherent because I'm just exhausted. And I'm sure you're that way too.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the day, I know for a fact they preached about it in church that like sometimes the way I feel like the connection is and the way most men, not all, and shit, some women feel this way too, is they need that physical touch. And it's really odd if it's not, I can't imagine going months like some people tell us. And it's really sad because I feel like that we would live like almost like roommates, sleeping in the same bed or sleeping in different beds, especially. I would really feel off. And then what are we teaching our kids if we did? I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but at the end of the day, I just feel like there's definitely got to be a sense of connection, and it's work. And you have to work, for it. But so many people, they stop having sex and then they're lusting after something else, whether it be on the computer, whether it be at the workplace or whatever. And then you're really going down the rabbit hole of bad things to come.
You're inviting evil in. I think anytime you feel a negative emotion of some capacity, you have to ask yourself, what's the thing I need to do to overcome that and reconnect with my spouse? And the one thing I wanted to lean into more of what you just said is it is work. And if you take 40 hours a week and pour it into your work that brings you money, hopefully it fulfills you in some capacity with purpose, you need to at least put 10 hours into your relationship or more a week too.
I agree.
Like every night at the table, we sit down and have dinner together. Him and I at least get 30 minutes to an hour every single night after the kids go to bed. We usually have a date night every other weekend. Usually Sundays we don't work and we have a whole family day together. So I would say we probably have 10 to 20 hours a week, you and I. Some weeks less, some weeks more. Football season was great because we could do cardio together every single night. And I felt like we were really, really connected during football season. And then Christmas break happened, and now we're trying to figure out a rhythm with basketball.
We've been real chaotic lately, past few weeks when kids got out of school.
Yeah.
Because it kind of threw us off. Manny was with me all day. So I come like, I know when Sophia's with you too. It's not that I love my son being at the warehouse and stuff like that.
But it drains us a little more than just going to work.
It's a little anxiety for me. Could he get hurt?
Yeah.
Could he get this? And then he's asking a gazillion questions all day long.
And it's just busy anyways. It's buying the presents. It's doing all the extra stuff. It's things that, it's more chaotic.
We didn't have, we didn't have a babysitter, and not that we needed a babysitter, but it's like,
the first week.
No, but I'm saying we're at that point that like our kids are old enough.
And they think they want to come everywhere with us.
Yes.
And it's a boundary we have to set of like, it's okay for mommy and daddy to have a date night.
Right.
They get mad because we're going to a restaurant they want to go to. And
they don't want to miss this at all. And that's why, I always tell people, I'm like, sometimes for me and you, at least, we do have to leave town.
Yeah.
It's not that, and I hate to say this, I asked you, I know 10 times, and your mom would have been, normally we leave and do something after Christmas. It might be for 2-3 days. We didn't do anything, but it was nice to spend the night with. We worked all day and then spent New Year's with my parents and our children, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So I think you have to look at marriage as it's a commitment and it's work, and there's time that you need to put into it every single week. And whenever you have children, you have to remember that this relationship is the foundational leader of those children, and you can never avoid or really get too, I would say, emotionally attached to your kids where you forget to create connection with your spouse. Like, you need one-on-one time. You need to travel with this person. You need to have a sex life with this person. Like, this should be the priority. And that's one thing both my parents and your parents said, like, make sure you two always make time for the two of you.
Your mom told me that years ago.
Yep. Yeah. Because it was a regret, I think, in their life that they didn't do those things. And it's important. I saw the aftermath of that.
Sure.
And even though there may be seasons of hard that we go through, I would rather go through the hard together than live with the aftermath of what the hard could look like. And you got to have the hard conversations with one another. You have to set the right expectations. Men are never going to read your mind. So lay it all out on paper. Pray over your husband. That sometimes works. It always works. There's usually somebody that will speak through Stephen, or like he'll come home and be like, you need to do this. And I'm like, oh, praise God. He worked through his mind. But you can't expect him to know everything. And you have to be more vocal in what you're needing, and especially in the different seasons of life as a woman.
I mean, I completely agree. I think that it's super important. I think that we all have to, like, even me, as I'm sitting on this podcast, not even knowing what we're going to talk about, my mind's going a million miles a minute of like, there is things that we can both get better about.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like there's things I can get better about in business and life. And at the end of the day, if anybody takes anything away from this podcast, if you're not learning, you're not growing. So it's like, I always tell people within the gym equipment world, if you got a better way to do it, if one of my employees has a better way to move equipment than me, by all means, show me. I'm open ears. We don't have the blueprint, for instance, of the best relationship, but I think we do a pretty good job at adjusting and growing and navigating. And
that's the key.
Right.
You always have to be willing to grow and learn and to want to get better. You have to have the desire to want to make it work and to get better and to work through the hard things together.
So in closing statements, Amber, if somebody's battling something with their spouse at home, what do you think step one is for them to maybe approach the other one, write them a letter, write them an email? Like, I'm not that person. I want you just to come talk to me. But what do you think step one is for them to start the conversation?
I think step one is you have to spend time with yourself to first ask yourself, what's your role in this?
Okay.
What did you do? What did you not do? What could you have done better? And then you need to approach that person how they want to be communicated with.
Okay.
Not how you communicate, how they want to be communicated with. To me, I would approach Stephen and have a face-to-face conversation in the right timing. I'm not going to approach him after a long, hard day. I'm going to wait till maybe we're out for a date night and he's in the right frame of mind, because I think framing it in the right situational environment and your mindset allows me to get through to you at a much deeper level and connect with you on a much deeper level, and then work through it. Know that there may be some pushback and resentment, but also maybe the spouse was waiting for you to come talk to them about these things. And it opens the door for you both to talk through it. Don't attack one another, and realize you're on the same team.
Yeah.
And you're trying to get to the same place. And neither one of you have done it before. And maybe neither one of you have seen it done before well. And we're two different people living two different lives. And you just have to make a unwavering commitment to each other that no matter what happens, no matter how hard it gets, we're never giving up. And a season is just a season. And there's been seasons where like things were amazing with us. There's been hard seasons where maybe this was good, but external influences caused a lot of stress, which you're going to carry. And no matter how good this is, it's still stress that you're carrying. Mm-hmm. And then we've had really, really hard seasons, whatever it looked like, it was hard. But we've never, ever, ever given up.
No, you can't. I think you're going to have hard seasons that you have financial worries. I can only imagine if your kid's 15, 16, 17 and messing up. That's another whole worry that you sometimes can't control. I've had fathers tell me, man, my son's doing this. How many fathers have called me before saying, man, could you hire my son? I need a drill sergeant. but they can't be the one. Sometimes my son receives better from my father. And then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, damn, dad was hard as hell on me. And he's just is like super patient with me.
It's always different parenting.
It is different. It is different. And I think so. Let me ask you this, Amber. And this I'm sure is, well, people want to hear. If somebody is not having, or if a couple, let's just say they're in their 40s, is not having, hadn't had sex in weeks with their significant other, you know, the man probably is so bitter that he wants to go just tear her clothes off. But then the woman, usually wouldn't want that. What do they need to do to rekindle? Sometimes just going on a trip might make it worse. So, like, what do they need to do?
It's hard for me to speak on that because I've never been in that situation.
Right, but a lot of people are.
You have to communicate. I think being that disconnected sexually is not the real reason why they're that disconnected.
I agree.
I think that is the aftermath of being disconnected in other aspects of life.
Okay.
So I think you need to be very intentional about the amount of time you're spending with your spouse.
Okay.
I think you need to restructure your life and maybe even go to your spouse and say, hey, like, I want us to have a much better marriage than what we currently have.
Yeah.
What does a good marriage look like to you?
Okay.
What would you like to see in a good marriage? And then I think the other spouse needs to say, like, this is what I would like in a good marriage.
Okay.
And then they both need to ask for permission from one another of what they're going to hold each other accountable to.
Okay.
And bring it to life.
Yeah.
And know that the grass is not green on the other side.
Right.
The grass is green where you water it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe both of them have gotten very busy in their own lives and they've forgotten that they're even living in the same grass, you know, and it's way easier. And I've heard it from so many women who are divorced. They wish they just would have stuck it out and put forth.
And that's why I'm asking you, because I think there's a lot of people, men more have talked to me, women talk to you. Women have talked to both of us and men have talked to both of us. But like, I think people get so disconnected that they think it's not repairable. And then I hate to say this, but men are physical touch and they're going to start looking elsewhere. And they're so bitter that they think it's not fixable. And then, Lord forbid, they start cheating on their wife or something like that. Now they can't even forgive themselves, if that makes sense. Or they've moved so far past their wife that they're literally roommates. So do you think that's repairable?
Anything's repairable.
Okay.
You can, if you bring it before the Lord and forgive one another, anything's repairable. Okay. But that's what a lot of people don't do.
I agree.
They think that they can fix it on their own and they can't.
No.
You're never going to fix it on your own.
Yeah, I agree. If you like this podcast, please like and subscribe to the page, and we will see you on the next one.